Okay, it's 6:30. Let's go ahead and get started. I think we do have a quorum. All members of the Planning Commission are present tonight. The usual microphone reminder, if you're speaking, please make sure your microphone is on. We need to adopt the agenda. Does anyone see anything we need to add or change?
Move to adopt the agenda as presented.
Second.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded to adopt the agenda as presented. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, thank you. As usual, we'll begin with any general public comment. Any public comment? Okay, thank you. Moving on to new business, we do have two sets of minutes to adopt. Let's take a look at the November 19th, 2025 minutes, see if we need to make any changes or corrections.
Are you looking for separate motions on these, Mr. Chairman?
I think we need to, yeah.
I'll move to adopt the minutes of November 19th, 2025 as submitted.
Second.
All right, the motion has been made and seconded to adopt the minutes of the November 19th, 2025 meeting as submitted. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. The second set of minutes is the December 3rd, 2025 minutes. Again, any requirement for changes or additions or corrections?
Move to adopt the minutes from December 3rd, 2025 as submitted.
All right, the motion has been made and seconded. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. All right, that brings us to case number RZ-11-25-01, John Wright, a rezoning request. This is the second workshop. John Wright has applied to rezone the parcel identified as Madison County Tax Map 46-39A from a split-zoned A1/C1 to A1. The purpose of this rezoning is to allow a future boundary line adjustment with an adjacent parcel. Anything to add there, Mr. Nichols?
Not a whole lot, Mr. Chairman. This one is pretty straightforward. It's our second workshop. Has been advertised for a public hearing coming up in January. It's just a very small portion of this parcel being asked to homogenize the zoning. If there's any questions, happy to answer it. Otherwise, I think we're pretty straightforward.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Nichols? All right, is the applicant here?
Yes, sir.
Yes. We'll say, does anyone have any questions for the applicant, since we talked about this last time? All right. Any discussion? Okay, apparently everybody's satisfied. All right. No discussion, no questions. Any public comment on this case? All right, thank you, sir. All right, with no public comment, we'll move on to case number SU-12-25-1, Hal Mayer, a special use permit, first workshop. Hal Mayer has applied for a special use permit to convert an existing single-family home to a duplex on property identified as 4185 Orange Road and further identified as Madison County Tax Map 50-118B. The subject property is zoned agricultural A1 and is 1.489 acres. A duplex is a special use permit in the A1 zoning district under Madison County Code of Ordinances, Appendix 1, Article 4-2-18. Anything to add, Mr. Nichols?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. So a couple of quick things on this one. The applicant is with us tonight. He is attending remotely, so I would ask you all to take special care to speak into your microphone so he can hear you. So this piece of property has just a couple of quick things here. Want to look at the map here on it. This is located on Orange Road. It's roughly 1.5 acres, which is a non-conforming parcel in, let's say, in the agricultural district. It's a little brick house now, and the applicant would like to bifurcate the space and make a duplex. I have cited the ordinances in here about non-conforming lots, and I do not believe this is an issue. It's an existing non-conforming lot. It's been that way since before the ordinance was a thing, and I do believe that a duplex is a single use. So I do not think that we have any conflicts with the non-conforming size of the lot. It's simply a question of, is an appropriate location for a duplex or not? VDOT made comment at the preliminary development meeting and stated that no modifications were required to the entrance because it would only serve 2 residences essentially. It'd be no different than having 2 homes on a private driveway, and did not raise the traffic count to a level that was concerned. VDH was a little bit different. The applicant will have some homework to do. If they are approved for this special use permit, they will have to pursue a change of use through the health department with wastewater characterization, as well as some work that our building official has cited for the need for a firewall between the 2 units. So if the special use permit's approved, there will be some more steps to be taken that are procedural in nature. But the question of the night is it an appropriate place for a duplex?
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Nichols? Yes, thank you, Jim.
Since this was in existence with the zoning, and I assume it was in existence before the new health regs. So is there, for septic, will one septic field work with the emergency backup, or how will they handle that on a duplex?
I suspect that, well, I mean, all the permitting will go through the health department on that. When we spoke to them at PDRC, they did not raise those concerns that they would need 2 separate drain fields, but it's possible that a modification would be in order, and they'll look at that when the gentleman applies. However, the bedroom count will not change. The applicant has stated that he does not want to increase the occupancy, but rather just make it 2 units. So it has a set number of bedrooms now. That number of bedrooms will stay the same in the future.
Any other questions for Mr. Nichols? All right, we do have the applicant.
The applicant is
Okay.
online. Mr. Mayor, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Good evening, gentlemen.
Okay, does anyone have any questions for Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Chairman, or the applicant, just gonna split this, home here in half and have one on each side, is that what,
I can't hear the question.
Mr. Elliott's question was, are you just going to be basically splitting the building that's there into 2 separate two separate apartments, basically? Not going to
Yes.
add or change anything?
Right. I'll put a firewall where the addition, previous addition that was done to the place. And make that into one apartment on the left, and then the rest of the apartment on the right.
Any further questions for the applicant?
I don't have one for the applicant,
Okay.
but, so are they gonna have to go through BZA?
This is-
No, they will not. They're not changing the footprint of the structure that's there. There's nothing to get a variance from. So it exists. The use as a lot can continue.
So what was the reason that it was non-conforming?
It is smaller than the minimum required area in the agricultural district. Minimum required lot size now is 3 acres. The fact that it's smaller than that makes it non-conforming.
You would highlighted this, was the reason why I was asking.
Yes. I just didn't want to, I was trying to avoid a rabbit hole of, can we do it because it's smaller than 3 acres? I think you can.
Mr. Chairman, I have one question. Mr. Mayor, have you actually been in contact with Emily, or have you hired an OSC and made that determination on the drain field yet? More curious than anything.
No, I haven't. I'm waiting to see if you men feel it's appropriate and approve it, then I'll hire.
Thank you.
The chances are very rarely, when it's a 3-bedroom, you're not adding any, will it ever be changed?
Any further questions for the applicant? Okay, so basically, we're looking at taking an existing single-family dwelling, which has an addition on one end of it, and you're planning, if I understand you correctly, to build the firewall between the original building and the addition, and make the addition basically your second part of the duplex. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
This is a house that belonged to Good Hope Church.
Yes. Okay, any further questions? All right, thank you, sir. Any public comment on this case? Okay, and this is, of course, the first workshop, so we will be revisiting this at the next workshop meeting. All right, if there's no public comment, we'll move on to case number SU-12-25-2, Eden Ridge, a special use permit, first workshop. All right, Stephen Found, on behalf of Leonard and Lori Peters, has applied for a special use permit seeking an event venue on property identified as 868 Novum Church Road and further identified as Madison County Tax Map 24-38. The subject property is zoned agricultural, A1, and is 152.624 acres. An event venue is a special permit use in the A1 zoning district under Madison County Code of Ordinances, Appendix 1, Article 14-18. All right, Mr. Nichols, anything to add there?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. So this piece of property is up, it's sandwiched between Hoover Road and Novum Church Road. Large parcel. The site plan is up on the screen there. The area in which the event venue is proposed is up here in the northeast corner. We heard this case at preliminary development. VDOT's comments, they talked about that entrance probably being okay for light commercial to begin with, and if they meet the full scope of their proposal, which I'm quite sure the applicant's happy to present here in a moment, but they may require a full commercial entrance in the future. When we talked to the health department, they stated that porta potties would be okay with their initial phase, which would be to do like a large tent structure for their events before they move to a permanent structure. But the porta potties being, to be phased out as they do further construction. Waiting on comment from the building official. We'll have that for you, let's say, by our second workshop. But beyond that, I'd like for the applicant will do a much better job of presenting their vision than I will.
Okay, any questions from Mr. Nichols on this case? All right, if not, is the applicant here? Yes, thank you. Be sure your microphone is on. Not on, okay. All right, since this is the first workshop, I suggest that you go ahead and give us your presentation here after you identify yourself, and then we'll approach any questions.
Sure. Thank you so much for having us in this evening. My name is Stephen Found, and as Mr. Nichols said, I'm representing Lori and Leonard Nichols for this proposal. I want to make it clear, I'm not a lawyer. I'm a friend as much as anything. I met Lori and Leonard first at a wedding for their daughter where I was the property manager and event manager for that space. And after the meeting, we happened to run into each other, and he said to me, wow, this is really something I want to do. And I hadn't really run into anybody who had as much enthusiasm and drive to do a project as Mr. and Mrs. Peters did. So it's been a real pleasure getting to know them, and it's been a real pleasure working through this process, especially under the guidance of Mr. Nichols. As the proposal states, it's 868 Novum Church Road, 152 acres, and the goal is to start with a phased plan and program where the first phase would be to take the existing property and create a pad, if you will, to basically erect a tent structure as needed in the instance where, say, a wedding would happen. In this particular case, most of that would happen as per the rental by the bride and the groom, that kind of thing. We would all obviously want to prepare for parking and any utilities that would need to go to the future structure that would occur at that space, on that space. And that would be something that is to be developed at this point. We're thinking about something that matches the environment, that matches the landscape. A barn structure comes to mind. But we haven't done any kind of design or development on any of that part of the parcel. What I can say is that in getting to know Leonard and Lori, it's very clear to me that they have a love for the land, they have the love for the county, and are wanting to preserve what they have here and use it in a way that helps them as well as helps the county economically. So that's kind of just a brief overview. There's lots of details and potentially lots of questions that we're more than happy to answer. We have Leonard and Lori and also Marvin Hinchy here from Hinchy and Baines in Culpeper.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Found?
So I got one.
Okay, Mike.
So it looks like the neighboring lot, tax map 2437A, has got a structure. So how close is this to the neighboring properties, roughly, as far as houses go?
As far as houses go,
Yeah.
it's quite a distance from each of the houses that border the property. There is a house, what would you say, 300 yards, 400 yards from to the right?
Behind me and then to the left of me are two vacant homes. One, an older gentleman's want to remodel come summer, and then that farm's like 120 acres. Then the 126 acre farm to me, I heard that the lady's in a nursing home, and it's kind of a vacant farm. They still, the guy that leases my farm with his cattle, he has cattle in the surround on those both farms. But I think the closest house to me, well, both of those being vacant, would be 400 or 500 yards away. They're empty.
One of the issues that was brought up last time when we were here was, have you talked to the neighbors yet? And clearly, we have a plan to invite all the neighbors over, to have a little open house and to say hello and get to know anybody that Lori and Leonard don't know. Also, we have plans in the works to make sure that, everyone's hand is held during the course of events and letting people know what's going to happen so that it's not like there's any surprises as to what's going on the property. We're going to set up a hotline so that folks have questions or concerns, they can give me a call. And I'm basically going to manage the property for Leonard and Lori at that point.
Any further questions?
I had a question, Steve.
Yes, Pete.
So if you have a wedding venue there, how many people are you anticipating and trying to handle in a wedding venue, a large wedding?
Sure, we're figuring maximum 200 people
Okay.
would be the capacity of the space and the parking.
As far as parking, there will be additional parking outside of the lots or the parking spots that you're showing?
I'm not sure that the parking lots that we're showing are to scale or to correct numbers in terms of accommodating that. We've got plenty of room to be able to make sure that everybody can park, near the venue, so people aren't walking, half a mile to get to their seat. Marvin, did you want to mention anything about the parking or the thoughts behind the parking at this point? It's obviously something that we have to work out specifically to the 200 people to make sure that there are the appropriate and ordinanced number of lots, or spots, rather.
I was anticipating need maybe up to 50 spaces.
Y'all got any idea of how many events y'all are planning on per year? Is there any thought in mind about
We'd love
that?
to be able to have one a weekend. I mean, that would be great, wouldn't it? I mean, if we were.
Financially, it would be.
Sure, yeah, but we'll see how it goes. But we would be able to handle one a weekend at least at this point. So, but if you figure that it's really an April to November timeframe, you're talking 9 months, and so, you know, there's 36 weeks in there, so maybe 36 to 40 events. And I think it's fair to say that, you know, with the attitude and the approach that Lori and Leonard have, they wouldn't necessarily make it just a wedding. It wouldn't just have to be a wedding event that could occur. There could be other events there as well, smaller events, you know, use of the property and the ability to, you know, be on the property is really important to them. And so, you know, that's a hard one to call in terms of those types of events. That's the sort of thing that would come as we market the venue and as we, you know, talk to folks about what they're looking for. We've been told that the venue community in Madison is very friendly, so we look forward to working with the other venues in town to see if we can help out when they don't have availability, that sort of thing, as the new guy on the block.
So if this is approved, what are you anticipating the timeline to be in operation?
If all goes well, probably summer, this upcoming year, 2026. And
We
also,
asked that, we've approved quite a few that nothing's happened.
Oh,
yes, sir.
That's a concern, my concern.
yeah.
Yes, sir. And I just want to make a note that this 153 acre farm is a dream come true for me. We love the farm. It's our,
Yeah, the 153 acre farm, I could write a book on how we got it, but it's a dream come true. We love it. It's our staple. It's my forever home. I love the views. I love Madison County. So yes, sir, to answer your question, 2026, you know, following all steps.
I think it's fair to say that if the approval was given in February, we would get going right away. That can't come soon enough as far as these guys are concerned. We're very excited about the idea.
Mr. Chairman, a question. We talked in the preliminary review meeting about the two-phase approach for the tent and kind of temporary structure ahead of time. Have y'all given any more like consideration to timing on that? Is it going to be a couple of seasons, or is it going to be a financial trigger that y'all kind of go into?
It would be dictating on phase one, how phase one pans out, how the traffic, and I guess how my website, how many people we can interest, and just play it by ear, basically. Depending on phase one, will let us know how to move to phase two.
Not looking for pro or con here, but just bringing up a couple of things that you're going to need to deal with. We've already mentioned the neighbors.
Yes, sir.
That's probably the single most important factor here, because when we look at this, we will have to consider the impact on the neighbors.
Yes, sir. I understand.
One of the other things that we will have to consider is safety, which includes the road that you're using for your entrance. And as I look at your tax map here, you have a very large area of floodplain, and it appears that your driveway is almost entirely in the floodplain area. So your ability to move traffic in or out in certain kinds of weather might be of question too. These are just a couple of things that you might want to, maybe at the next workshop, address as to how you plan to deal with that. I know you've already talked with VDOT, if I understood correctly, and your sight distance on Novum Church Road is excellent. So they don't seem to be too concerned about your entrance there. But just out of curiosity, what is the stream there that's for the floodplain?
It's Deep Run.
It's Deep Run?
Yes, sir, that
Okay.
goes through there.
So that's a fairly sizable stream there.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
But it's
Inclu-
not deep.
Well, it's not deep until it floods.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So is there already a bridge or culvert or something across that area?
Yes, sir. But I've had the property 2 years, and they said Mr. Byrne, the previous farmer, he redid the whole, I think VDOT was involved, and like we had a pool put in and a huge crane crossed the bridge, so it's very stout. It's solid concrete with culverts running through it, professionally done.
Okay, any other questions or comments?
Yeah, Mr.
Discussion.
Nichols, can you go to the slide just above this one? Where it shows the aerial photo, there you go, right there, the photo, actually. There you go.
You want this?
So the house that you said you think is, nobody's living in it, is that the one looking at the screen on your side to the right?
5163, yeah.
Correct.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
And how far you think that is? Because it looks like your new construction part will be closer to that particular house.
He would be the closest one, yes, sir.
Uh-huh. And what do you think maybe is the distance there?
I would
roughly?
say shy of 300 yards, roughly, give or take.
830 feet.
Good guess, yeah.
That was a good
400.
guess.
Yeah. Okay. All right, speaking of neighbors, it appears that you have primarily, what should we say? Fence line growth, trees along the fence line.
Yes, sir.
As that's the only currently existing screening between your site where you're going to plan to build your, in your phase two, where you plan to build a structure, and those properties. Can you elaborate on how you plan to, like, buffer the view shed there?
Yes, sir. Last year, I've already planted to screen the house some Leland cypress, a row of Leland. I'm an arborist also, so that's my line of work. I planted a huge row of Leland cypress. They're already taken off. So when the barn erects, when we get to that point, I have no problem. You know, I'm a tree, I know all my trees and shrubs and non-deciduous and evergreen, so I would be up to for some screening with some non-deciduous evergreens. Yes, sir.
Okay, so basically you're already working on that
Yes, sir.
aspect of it. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
You plan to have any live music?
Yes, sir, I do. It'll be a cutoff time of 9 p.m. 9 p.m. and it's nothing later than that. And then as we, in 10 p.m. on the weekends. And even with the speakers, they won't be pointing out, it won't be blasting. That comes in to respect of my neighbors. I get all that. And even with the lighting, it's not going to be lights pushing out. It's going to be all humbly within the event area.
And if I may, Trudy, y'all are living on the property, y'all will when the event venue is erected as well?
Yes.
So if it gets loud, you're going to go down there and tell them?
Oh, yeah.
Gonna call me.
So you'll be the first to notice any noise pollution.
Yes, sir. And I do, I understand the respect for my neighbors. I do. I understand that.
All right, any further questions at this time? If not, is there any public comment? Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Found.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I was just looking at the package that's in here, and it says events will conclude by 10 p.m. on weekends and 9 on weekdays. Is that changed? I mean, is everything now? Huh? Oh, he did? Okay, I guess I was reading and didn't, sorry about that.
Yes, sir.
How's it going? I'm Matt Laughley. I live at 5163 Ridgeview. One of the properties will be impacted by this. The house is not vacant. We stay there quite often. We will be permanent residents down there in the next year or so. First, I want to say I want to be a good neighbor to the Peters.
Likewise. Yes, sir.
I want to support business in this county 100%. And I hope to meet with the Peters and go over the concerns I'm going to address tonight, and I'll follow up in writing with the zoning department on how that goes. My my first concern is how close it is to my house. It's close. The site they're gonna build on is elevated. It may be the highest spot on the farm. And my big concern is noise and the visual impact it's gonna have on me. Mr. Peters likes his views and so do I. And that's right in line with mine. Currently, when they're outside having family gatherings, I can hear it crystal clear. So that's going to be a concern for me. The parking lot, you've got it on the side and the back of the building. The back of the building presents right to my property, so I'm gonna be looking at those vehicles. I don't know if there's a chance to relocate that parking lot to another location, maybe have a less of an impact. Tents, I know in the initial meeting I watched on YouTube, they're looking at a year or two. I think tents are gonna be a challenge for noise for that area, for the whole valley. I know we're looking at building a permanent structure. I'd like to see like what sound deafening they're gonna put in that building and any type of noise mitigation. Those are my primary concerns. Again, I'm more than happy to meet with Peters and look over it, and I'll follow up with written response to the zoning department. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Any further public comment? Do we have anyone online by chance? Nope, thank you. Any further public comment? All right.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
would there be a way for, if any of us commissioners would like to come and visit to see what it's like there? Is there
Yes, sir,
a
absolutely.
possibility? I guess maybe the best way, Mr. Nichols probably has your number. It's not on our application. Would that be, we'll get it from Mr. Hinchy?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Any
We're
other?
happy to connect you all to
Okay.
make an appointment as you see fit between the Peters and you all.
Okay. Any further discussion, comments, questions? All right. If not, that brings us to case number ZOA-11-25-01, ordinance amendment, first workshop. The Board of Supervisors has directed the Planning Commission to consider the adoption of a rural services/contractor use ordinance to allow for small to medium scale, low impact service or contracting businesses in rural areas, where such businesses are accessory to or compatible with agricultural, forestry, and low-density residential uses. This SUP is intended to support economic opportunity while ensuring protection of rural character, minimizing adverse environmental impacts, and preserving compatibility with adjacent properties. Mr. Nichols, is this, just out of curiosity, is this the original draft or is this a modified one?
So we had talked about this one in the 11-19 workshop. We had presented the concept of a multi-tier home occupation ordinance with rural services being a, something that grew in capacity. As discussion on this has progressed, and, the big question is, where do you draw the line in the sand at what activities should truly be home occupation and somebody conducting their business that nobody sees from the outside and should be by right without anyone having to, come bear the brunt of the planning commission? And at what level does it rise to where there could be neighbor impacts and they require a special use permit, but without a whole lot of, without a whole lot of restrictions? And then where does it rise to the level where, there's more at play and needs more regulation? And so I'm hoping that some of the commissioners have had thoughts on where these activities lie. We have a good opportunity to go and fix some of the problems with the existing home occupation ordinance. And it would be I'm hoping for some productive discussion along that line tonight.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right, any questions for Mr. Nichols about this, I guess you would call it the draft of the
Oh, we're
possible
100% in the draft
ordinance.
phase.
Yeah.
We haven't got anything ready for codification yet.
Right, yeah.
Mr. Cowan, please.
Mr. Nichols, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Do I have this in my packet?
So, let's say this is a, you do from November 19th. It's a late delivery today because it missed the packet delivery. It should be sitting in all of your email boxes. It should be synced up to your devices there. So if you open it, it'll be sitting there for you.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds great. So, I appreciate that. Like you said, there's no rush on anything. I mean, I think it's been clear for a while. Some changes need to happen to allow for, more people to work, in a rural area, which is scattered. And so I appreciate that. I haven't looked at this. I look forward to looking through that. In regards to your comments from November 19th, currently I'm just going to take exception with a couple things, and even how it is advertised, where just in regards to where such businesses are accessory to or compatible with agricultural, forestry, and low-density residential uses. I don't really understand, and it's kind of been advertised that way since the beginning. I don't understand the correlation between operating a business of different, of whatever different scale, and the relation to agricultural uses.
I think what we've run into here, especially as of late, oftentimes we have different business types that share equipment type. You may have, and when you have property owners who are doing multiple activities with blended use of equipment and employees, you could have somebody who operates a farm, and pick your scale, right? Large farm with another business to the side, small farm with a business to the side. Scale can vary, but generally speaking, somebody who is a farmer often has most of the same equipment they'd use for landscaping or hardscaping or those types of businesses. Same thing, somebody who does forestry may also have similar equipment that somebody in trades, in the trades have. They're overlapping things. Most times when somebody's handy, they want to do all the same, types of uses, or they're capable at least. And so there reasonably should be a way to permit somebody to, enjoy the entrepreneurial spirit and make a living to the best extent possible, let's say within the framework of reasonableness to, our values as a community.
Sure, okay, yeah, thank you. And I mean, there is definitely some crossover on equipment sometimes there's not, I don't think, by the businesses listed in the proposal that, again, they seem to be separate things as far as any sort of requirement, in my opinion. And then the only other thing, and again, I apologize for not catching this tiered proposal, but we are partially intending to allow for as well for clients to be on site as part of probably the more extensive.
Yeah, I mean, I think that when we looked at this thing, your home occupation, your home occupation where you couldn't tell that anything was going on there, just somebody's in their home and nobody could tell from the outside, that should be a no-brainer, right? Administrative kind of stuff.
I think in a lot of cases it is by right.
Yeah, make somebody, you have an employee who works, but say they're at a desk next to somebody. I don't think anybody cares. Having customers come, I think regularity is important. If the nature of the business is that people are coming there, I think that may require a special use permit because you have a great deal of traffic. If you're talking about, sometimes somebody comes to my house to sign a contract or to have a meeting. I don't think that necessarily rises to the same level as, you know, the nature of the business is that people come to the property. So there should be some delineation in there.
Sure, yeah, agreed. I did send an email out earlier, and I mean, it was like 45 minutes before the beginning of this meeting. I do look forward to circulating that. You don't have to pull it up now. I'll give you time to process it and
Yours
send
always
it.
get quarantined. I'm
Send
sure
it
I'll
out.
see it tomorrow.
So, and essentially, I looked in the zoning ordinances for home occupation allowed uses in probably about 6 or 7 jurisdictions surrounding us. I didn't really find anything anywhere close to this. I do realize you are proposing this as a special use permit. So I am going to look through that some as well. I did notice that Orange had the home occupation and home enterprise uses. And I think something like that, like our home occupation uses are relatively restrictive, but obviously if it is by right, it's very easy for somebody to facilitate whatever sort of business, a small scale business, which it should be. But essentially they have a next step without a special use permit, without public hearing, to make home enterprises also a administrative, that just allows for that next step of responsible home business operation.
I mean, it is my opinion that the less oversight by government that a business has to have is better, in my opinion. So the more things that you want to, or that you are comfortable with making by right, you'll hear no argument from me.
No, well, that's what the email basically entails. I wasn't really able to find anything else other than Orange's ordinance, and it is pretty prescriptive on, what does apply and what doesn't for that.
I'll be interested to unpack that. That'll be good.
So, and I'll keep looking into the special use permits surrounding in this too. Appreciate all that.
Mr. Chairman? Yes. I've got a few things that I want to say about this, and this is my opinion. One of the big concerns that I got is when you start taking all these little businesses, and I see one to help the little guy. But let's say we got a row of 10 houses here. We start going all over the county and start issuing special use permits to somebody that's got a tree service business or a lawnmower business. And the first thing you know, in my mind, a special use permit is an alternative for spot zoning. So we're gonna start creating a lot of spot zoning all over the county, in my opinion, when we start issuing these special use permits. Because if a guy comes in and he says, I got a lawnmower business and I got 6 neighbors, but I want my lawnmower business, and we issue to him, then, in my opinion, we're spot zoning. I just can't see us putting places all over the county. I understand helping people and wanna help people. But the other thing I think we gotta do is we gotta come up with some kind of criteria. If you're under this criteria, under these 5 sentences, you're the low guy. If you're under this criteria with these 5 sentences, you're the medium guy. We can't, who's gonna be the determining factor? Is a body gonna be the determining factor? Is one person gonna be the determining factor? How are we gonna determine who's what? I just think that's real concerns, how we approach it or how we do it. Thank you.
Other comments, discussion?
I'd like to piggyback on that a little bit. Along with what Mr. Nichols was saying earlier, I think one of the things that I didn't hear, that maybe I missed it, would be how many employees would the business have? And not so much as how many people are visiting it, because you may not have any visitors or any customers coming into the establishment, but you've got 20 employees that come in there on a daily basis. So that would be one of the determining factors as well.
I do think that's the point of the discussion, Mr. Snyder, that we would like to discuss where that line in the sand is to where an activity is okay by right, and when it may rise to the level of having impact to the neighbors, and, you know, it should require a special use permit to be able to mitigate some of those impacts. So I think that's the purpose of this discussion, is do you do employee by acre or distance from folks, or how do you want to unpack this? There's a number of ways we could do it, but it's up for debate.
I was just making a point that I think employees should be one of those things that we throw in there.
Okay?
And I would also like to make note that being, I was quoted from the last meeting of me saying that it was, how would this basically be beneficial to the county? I thought I made it clear that night, but I do want to make it clear that I did not want to make sure that this was going to be financially beneficial to the county. This was going to be basically benefit the people of the county, whether you have a neighbor or the business itself or whoever else is involved, and not financially. Your comments in here would, in parentheses, would indicate differently.
Okay. Other comments, discussion, concerns?
Mr. Chairman, just a few things in part regards to what Mr. Elliott, Mr. Snyder had to say. I am also not in favor of, well, two things. One, the rural character of Madison is the fact that most of the land is zoned A1. I'm assuming followed by C1, followed by
I mean,
a very small amount,
almost the entirety of the county is A1 or C1.
followed by a very small amount of B1 commercial property. So when you have people scattered across the county, what you inevitably have is people working from different areas. I do agree with Mr. Elliott that a special use permit can be essentially a spot zoning in a way. And I'm not in favor entirely of issuing special use permits for essentially a sort of fake commercial property that really is in an agricultural area. But that is the nature too, is that the people are going to be spread out across the county. It's always been that way
If I
before
may-
zoning, but.
If I may offer something for your consideration about spot zoning. Spot zoning would imply that a property gained all the uses of a particular zoning district. A special use permit is only permitting a single use, not a multitude of that district. And so I do think it is important to discern that you're talking about a single use and not a bundle. So a special use permit is very narrow in scope for that exact reason. You want your districts to be planned in an orderly way, but it is important to have flexibility for folks to enjoy their own property rights while limiting impact to the neighbors. So I don't think it's necessarily spot zoning to issue a special use permit, because you don't get the entire bundle of uses that go with the zone.
Well, if you got a parcel of A1, and you give that guy a special use permit, and he's operating a business in it, you put him in a spot in that A1. Any way you look at it, he's in a spot in A1.
Do y'all mind if I jump in just a little bit?
Go right ahead, sir.
Go ahead.
Thank
That's why
you.
you get the big bucks.
Well, I take your point, Mr. Elliott, and I think one of the two benefits I see for the special use permit would be, one is it's case by case, and so it will matter what the impact's going to be on that area and the neighbors. And then two is the conditions that you can impose on them, which don't necessarily need to be voluntary, right? You can sort of impose that, or the board of supervisors can impose those. The other thing that I think is going to be the struggle here, but not impossible, but is to your point of, and Mr. Snyder's point, is scale and how we determine what's the right size business for what areas. And, the ideas of like number of employees or number of trips per day, you know, vehicles that are going to and from a certain area, or it's square footage that's being used for the business on that property, or like I saw Rockingham limits it to, I think, no more than half an acre can be used for storage of things. And maybe it also depends on the size of the parcel. Maybe it depends on how, you know, if it's going to be a little bit more Madison specific, maybe it matters how close it is to 29 or to the villages themselves. I don't know. I think there's a lot of different ways to attack it. I'm not saying I've got the right answer on those, but those are just some of the considerations that we can make as we're trying to craft something that makes sense for a Madison problem set.
And in response to that, I would like to say that I think one of our number one issues here is going to be enforcement of this special use permit. I think that's going to be number one. Actually, number one's going to be figuring out where they are going to be sitting on this, and the next one's going to be the enforcement of it.
And Mr. Chairman, if I can,
Yes.
I figured there'd be a lot of deliberation on the structure of this, so I'm actually putting together, Mr. Nichols, I've informed me of this, of going through most of the counties that have been transitioned out of rural into more business and putting together a packet of communication, because I think really what we're getting to is how this is going to be communicated once it's skinned, whatever cat that looks like. And particularly Fauquier, Warren, Prince William all have a pretty good history of how their business permits or their spot zoning permits have transitioned over the last 30 years. So hopefully that'll be helpful. But again, I have a feeling there's going to be enough chiefs and Indians in this one to, I'll focus on communication.
If y'all don't mind for a second. Reading, and I know everybody's behind the time, I'm reading it as y'all are talking on what Alan put out, that's in your email and everything. It looks like the proposal, though, is special use in only the phase 3, at draft mode, we all got it, that it's only in group, phase 3 of this home occupation. And then and then it could be based on the criteria that the planning commission and the board adopts, phase 2 may require it. The reality of a lot of these small businesses is everybody knows, I mean, we know of a handful, and it is a short handful, that employ, let's just say 20 plus people. It's very few. Majority of the businesses, I'm looking at Pete down here, he knows all of them. And it's 1 or 2 people and up to 5, and that's really where it is. I mean, you start going down through this and into your phase 2, and it starts talking about trips, and I think that's something, and then equipment stored on, depending upon the size of the track. All of that kind of plays into the decision, but the majority of these businesses are going to be captured pretty much in that first group, just because they're 1 or 2 people, or 3 if they're really getting crazy.
The problem with that is, those people are not even gonna come forward.
And it'll be,
That's not gonna
and it'll
happen.
be by right, but now it would have the ability to be that way.
Thank you.
Yeah, and Mr. Nichols, and Mr. Wright, I do understand, you know, there's definitely a need and appropriate use for special use permits. I don't want to create like commercial junior, you know, sort of lots around the county. Necessarily, I don't know, I mean, it's, like I said, it's needed. There's plenty of criteria in the surrounding counties where jurisdictions have done these, made this room for businesses to operate. I think it's entirely appropriate. I do want to see it designed for the working people of Madison County and not specific enterprises. I think it needs to have room for people to likely do what they've been doing. One thing I liked about Orange's home enterprise was that it was a $100 fee. It was up to 4 employees, which I would also categorize as 1099 or, you know, people associated with the business. But it allows some tracking metrics with compliance, administrative. And then as we go through these other levels or special use permits on the upper end, that's great. clean it up.
Other comments? I will add kind of my 2 cents worth here. The way it stands right now, and I think this is maybe where this is coming from, our ordinances are such that any activity that is not specifically listed in the ordinance is not allowed. And we know that we have, well, first of all, this was done many years ago, and we have a lot of basically small businesses all over the county that are operating in a gray area. They're perfectly okay as long as nobody notices them. And hopefully this would be, or at least one outcome of doing something like this would be to move those home occupations, whether it's type 1 or type 2, into compliance with our ordinances without having to have them do anything. Not to, they wouldn't have to apply for anything, it would be by right. But right now, some of these things are not listed as activities that are permitted. So at least that's my take on this. I think the home occupation, as much as possible, should be by right. Any other comment on this? I do have just a kind of a picky question. In your type 2, you say limited outdoor activity. That may be fairly subjective. I'm not sure. The 5 non-resident employees, 5 commercial vehicles, that's very specific. That's something that can be, they can't really say, okay, we've got 4.5 vehicles or 4.5 people or something like that, so.
I think the point is that if you are like having people arrive in the morning and preparing for their day and they leave to do things off the site, that's limited activity. If you're working outdoors on the site all day, it would not qualify as that, I think is the intent.
Okay, so
certainly can-
you're specifically referring to limited activity by employees on site, and you're not talking about customers of some kind who would be on site.
I don't think it really
Okay.
matters, to be honest with you, because like I responded to Mr. Cowan's comment earlier, I think if occasionally somebody comes to the site, it's not a whole lot different than you having your friends over on a regular basis. It's no more trips, somebody's there, you know? But if the nature of your business is that your customers are coming to your place of business all the time, then that doesn't necessarily fit and should be considered case by case. But just the fact that somebody comes, you know, once or twice a month to that site for something, I don't think that precludes that from being a home occupation. That's what I'm saying.
Basically, I'm asking, what's going to be our objective characteristic of limited outdoor activity? I mean, we can't say 10 visits a day or something like that. That's unwieldy.
I mean, it has to be something quantitative.
Yes, yeah, that's what I'm trying to get at. Just saying limited outdoor activity may need to be fleshed out a little bit.
I mean, I don't mind the metric we've used in the past, which is hours, you know, per day of outdoor activity. I think that that's reasonable and something measurable.
Yeah, just a thought on that. Basically, I especially like the concept of the home occupation, type 1 being basically, you know, the county doesn't say anything to you. And type 2, as long as you're under the certain limits, then it's by right, nobody's gonna say anything to you. I much prefer less input from the county.
We agree.
Yeah. Other discussion, other comments?
So how are we gonna, I see a way maybe we can be determining what these are gonna be. And once again, I'm just now seeing this because I think the email came in late. But how are we gonna make sure that people do, as Pete was saying, report themselves? Or how are we gonna get these people, even if we're, I'm a little caught up on that, I think.
I mean, essentially, how you discover things that are problems, we are a complaint-based system. We do not have a department that's got half a dozen inspectors who are riding around the county all day trying to find violations of our ordinance. It would be cost prohibitive. It's outside of the way that Madison has done business. And it's just not generally the way we don't want to be the nanny state for our neighbors. Having said that, usually when we find these businesses and things, it's because there's been a problem. When there's been a problem and a neighbor reports a concern, or like we have found these before when our building inspectors notice something, when these things are brought to our attention, let's say that's when we, if there's a violation that exists, we'll send them the letter and we'll get them into compliance. The objective is always to get folks into compliance. We're not out to punish anybody. So if we were to adopt an ordinance, figure out exactly where you want your criteria to be and adopt something like this, in the beginning, nothing will change, except a lot of people who are operating now will now be in compliance with our ordinances instead of operating outside of that. And wouldn't it be nice to bring some of those people into our Chamber of Commerce and help them expand their businesses to, make the most out of it instead of them trying not to bring attention to themselves? But again, let's say we're going to find these things when they're problems, and then we will address them then.
And I do think one of the problems is going to be, is if if this is complaint oriented, somebody does make a complaint against this guy, and somebody makes a complaint against this guy, is enforcing the same rules for everybody. And I think we've been running into that anyway.
I mean, I think we're getting off topic for tonight's discussion, but
I don't.
Okay.
And I don't think we're getting off the topic either, because if we don't do this right and we don't get it right, you're gonna have a lot of neighbors mad at neighbors, because they're gonna say, well, we got an ordinance now, we can turn him in.
You have an ordinance now. It
We have
says
an
that if
ordinance,
it's not
but
permitted, it's
consistent with
prohibited.
that.
Yeah, and kind of piggybacking on what Mike said, the fairness is a very important aspect of this, and you can only do that if you've got objective standards that you can work with, which is, I think, what we're aiming for here.
That is exactly what we're aiming for.
I just got one easy one for you, just to consider, and it's a little bit more of a question, but for other special use permits, that would be a use, do we require that you have 6 acres in A1 to have a special use, like a home and a special use, or like the
For
one use per
For
minimum
making-
acreage?
For making it 2 uses.
Yeah, is that typically what we have, right?
That is typically what we have, and it's probably something worth considering. I think that you'll need to pick your line in the sand for the, like when you get to larger uses. Because, I mean, let's talk about it. If somebody's got 3 acres with their home on it, and they've got a lawnmower behind a pickup, are they really, causing any harm?
Well,
Even though they've got their home-based business there, that should be a by right activity and shouldn't bother anybody. But when you start having a bunch of construction equipment or landscaping equipment that, if there's a lot of it, say you've got 40 pieces of equipment, that's too much, right? So it's just where do you draw the line in the sand for when you need that acreage requirement to be multiple uses?
I think if it falls under the home occupation, like typically it's not an additional use because it's all within use of the home.
I
I
agree.
was just going to point out that this does have the width in regards to the special use, the lot minimum has 3 acres and 10 in C1. So I was just going to point out
Yeah,
that,
and those just align with what the area requirements are per use now in general.
so is that other special use
Yeah, for-
uses?
For any other special use, it would be considered the same, you're correct. If you
Okay.
want multiple uses in A1, you gotta have 3 acres per use.
Okay, that was my question. So that may be something certainly to consider changing in the draft in progress.
For the rural services aspect of it, the type 3, if you will,
The SCP part.
I can do that.
Or just to make it clear that that's what it means, yeah. That it's, if you have a house and you've only got 5 acres, then you don't have enough space for this additional use.
I think that's fair.
Yep. Other comments, discussion? Okay. By chance, is there any public comment on this? Nobody online? Okay. All right. If there's nothing further, we'll move on. Okay, that completes our new business. All right. Okay, no information or correspondence, upcoming public hearings and workshops. Just a quick run through, Alan?
All right, so coming up here, we've got public hearings for Mr. Wright, who we saw tonight. We have Al Esch's zoning text amendment scheduled for January public hearing as well. And I hope this is the last time that we talk about it. We have our goat ordinance that we are going to, our livestock and residential, coming up in January as well. January workshops, we will have Mr. Mayor back for his second workshop, Eden Ridge, second workshop, and we will continue discussion on this ordinance amendment. Based on your comments tonight, I will go ahead and put it in something that looks like the ordinance, and so that way we can put some numbers in there based on what you all had to say, and then we'll send it out for further discussion. I may send it to you ahead of the publication of the next packet, so that way you've got a little more time to look at it. If you have individual thoughts on where you think those numbers ought to be, please email me, and we will reference those in a way that we can discuss later and put them together. So that's what I have for you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Any other items from the Planning Commission, staff, or public? Any general public comment? If not. then
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a comment.
Yes.
And I'm not real good at this, but being this is my last meeting as a planning commissioner, I just wanted to say that it's been really nice being on this commission. I've learned a lot from it. I feel like I'm a big part of the community now. I feel like, once again, that the planning commission is a family here, and I truly, as I move on, gonna feel like I'm part of this planning commission family. And I want to thank the board for putting me on this commission. Mr. Jackson, Mr. Yao, Mrs. Hoffman, Mr. Dawson, and Mr. Jewett.
Yeah.
And that's about it.
Thank you, Mike. All right, if there's no further discussion, can we hear a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Okay, Mike, go ahead and give it a final motion.
Gotcha.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?